Right, this week in the CFL, the Bombers win without Zach Galeris and essentially without Brady Oliveira. The Stamps win without Reggie Bigleton and without a passing touchdown. And several kickers had nightmare games. We're not quite asking WTF in the CFL yet, but it's close. All right, welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. My name's Oz Davis. I'm the host of the show. Joining me, as always, is my friend and co-host, Joe Pritchard. Joe, how's it going this week?
It's going better for me than it is for quite a few of the teams that we're going to be talking about.
Right. Hey, your season has started, Joe. Are
Yes,
you feeling
finally.
more? Right. Okay. You're feeling more in touch this week, I take it, than last week.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, with the CFL. I'm not talking about the greater picture. I'll tell you what, I got one takeaway from last week. What is wrong with the kicking? What is going on with the kicking in the CFL? My God. Some of these guys just had nightmare games. Any clue? Any insight, Joe? The only guys who can hit a field goal are the foreigners. Basically.
Yeah, I wonder if there was. I know in Winnipeg's case, they lost their long snapper early on in the game,
Right.
so that always changes things. But yeah, it's not an easy thing to do when we just sit back and expect them to be perfect all the time. So
Oh yeah.
kudos to them for making that the expectation.
Right. We'd like to say in CFL commentary that kickers are people too, but it's interesting because we rarely do we credit the kickers. It's a little bit like being the goalkeeper in soccer. You only see the goalkeeper on the highlight films when they're getting burned. So I feel like it's the same with place kickers in the CFL. It's you only see them when they're missing on the highlight clips. This week, that was definitely the case. There was a lot of fodder for that. But let's run through these week 2 games. Let's say some interesting stuff this week in the CFL. We started off with Winnipeg Blue Bombers 34, BC Lions 20. Now, we haven't done this in a while, but Joe, I'll let you do the victory lap after another impressive Bombers win. But first, I want to ask you, who the hell is Carrick Wheatfall? Where did this guy come from?
He was around last year. He was in and out of the lineup based off of
Uh-huh.
who was healthy, who wasn't. I mean, Kenny Lawler missed time last year. Dalton Shaw missed most of the year. Wheatball play was in and out of the lineup depending on whoever else was in there. And he had a couple of decent games. So it's not like he's coming out of absolutely nowhere, but I can't blame the average CFL fan for going, who? Just like you just
exactly. Exactly.
It's not like I don't watch the Bombers in minute detail every week or anything, right?
Right. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit. Of course, Wheatfall was on the roster last year, but just all of a sudden they're calling his name every other play in this game. Okay. Well, okay. I'll ask you, what were your thoughts on this game? I noted that the score makes it look even closer than it was, a 2-touchdown game. At half, it was 18-10 to the Bombers, but I felt like this was mostly due to a single 49-yard pass to Eberhardt by Nathan Rourke. Without that, might have been 18-3 at half. But in any case, what were your impressions of your Bombers?
I mean, it was interesting to see BC pull out the 2023 West Final playbook again, right? Here, let's make the quarterback have to be in the pocket for 6 seconds plus and huck it downfield every single play,
Right.
or run for his life. I mean, that
Yep.
was their entire playbook, right?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
very few times were there short routes built in. Very few times were there any plans on moving the pocket or
Mhm.
getting the defenders to go the other way. It's just okay. You can come and get me, and I'll see if I can run past you. Or if you don't get me, I'm going to throw it like 50 yards downfield and go for like 2 for 10 on deep balls. I mean,
Mhm.
that was the entire playbook, right? So
Mhm.
that really helped Winnipeg a lot because coming out uh, after a week 1 bye, you don't exactly know what you have. So they didn't put a lot of pressure on Winnipeg early on. I will point out that BC was on the road with a short week, which is never a good scenario for anybody. Even though they've only played the 1 game, still, that's a short week of rest and going on the road. And BC travels a lot more than anybody else does because they always have to go one way, right? There's
Right.
no short. The only short flights they've got are to Alberta, and those aren't even all that short. So
Mhm.
they've got the worst travel schedule in the league every single season for the most part. And when you make them short weeks too, that doesn't really help matters either. On the other hand, Winnipeg came out just looking like they had played last week. They
Mhm.
they were in sync. They were able to fill in for next man up a few times.
Right.
Not just for Brady Oliveira after he went out, and still no word on what his injury is. Um, they had next man up, and off they went. Another Canadian running back too. Can you believe it?
Yeah. 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 Matthew Peterson had a heck of a game. Brady leaves the game after whipping off a 44 yarder.
Yeah, like
On
35 yards or something on that
yeah,
carry. He had like 2 carries for I don't have
right.
the numbers in front of me. 2 carries for like
49.
49 yards or something.
49
Yeah.
yards. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but then
That's some
Matthew
great yards
Peterson
for sure.
takes over and a
Mhm.
different running style, which I mean, you game plan for a bowling ball and you get a
Yep.
jet, so that doesn't help.
Yep.
Help matters on defense either, right?
Yep.
Uh,
Very nice.
but at the same time, it was next man up, ready to go, let's go. I love the way the play calling was. The play calling was. It was very diverse. It wasn't. If this game would have happened last year, we saw that actually. Um, Chris Trevler started a game last year because
Yep.
Zach Claris was hurt, and it was very much let's see how often we can have Chris Trevler run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and passing will be a trick play.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Strevler ran
Mhm.
twice the entire game and didn't even
Mhm.
do short yardage. They said, go be a quarterback instead of being a running back playing quarterback. And he proved that he could do it, at least in the short run, right?
Mhm.
My theory again, backup quarterbacks,
Right.
up to 4 games, get me through those and we can move on and we feel fine. He's proving he can at least do that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And he made a few really nice throws, and a few times they got him on the run to the outside, and he was able to make some plays with his arm even out of the pocket too. So that was another nice thing to see for Bomber fans. It's
Mhm.
going to make the rest of the season feel a lot more comfortable knowing he can do something. He can do that. He
Mhm.
can come in and play quarterback, and the team doesn't miss a beat. Shane Gauthier took over for long snapping, like I mentioned earlier. Uh, the job got done. Nothing. There wasn't too much damage. It looked like Sergio Castillo had a little bit of a timing issue with it. The kick started going off to the right a little bit, but that's something that could be fixed over the course of this next week, hopefully. Uh, no idea if Mike Benson's back next week or what have you, but again, next man up came in and there wasn't a blown play, right? No blocked kicks or missed timing on a kick where a kick got it didn't even get attempted or no blocked
Mhm.
punts or anything like that. Oh, and we got a returner too. That's
Right.
even better.
Yeah. 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 Very nice. Very nice all around.
Like for everybody that was thinking about writing Winnipeg off and like I was even partially kind of like leaning toward it's getting closer and closer. Well, maybe anybody writing them off might want to reconsider now.
Yeah. Yeah, they got depth. They got depth. I mean, it's been one game for the Bombers, but they look like one of maybe two teams that's 100% ready to go this early on. The only blemish I would say, Joe, is that Sergio did miss his first field goal attempt in this game. Sergio Castillo, in setting the pace for the rest of the weekend, missing that first field goal attempt. But other than this, I mean, there's absolutely zero negative you can say about the Winnipeg game.
No, they had control all the way.
Right.
They did give up a couple of big plays, but when the entire team's entire offense is let's go for the big play every single play, you're
Right.
going to miss a couple, right?
Right. Right. Which is what I felt like BC was all about. BC, Nathan Rourke and this offense have been slow to get going in both of these games. This week, as last week, the main focus of the passing game was McGinnis and Hatcher. But this time, 18 targets, just 8 completions to those guys. Rourke had a couple of monster completions, but not really enough to keep the Lions in this game after Winnipeg got out to the big start. Out of the backfield, James Butler ended up being Rourke's second favorite target in this game with 9 targets, but only 5 catches out of that. I'm not at all sure what continues to be up with this BC Lions offense. I did note at the beginning of the season that they seemed to be a little bit thin in the depth chart at receiver. And I think this is why, we're having to pass the ball to Butler so frequently.
Yeah, and they did make an adjustment with Hatcher in the second half to get him more freed up, too. It was brought up on the broadcast a few times about how they had switched the side of the field and switched who they were facing and different ways of working to get him open. So there was at least some creativity on that front. They got to get a better start, though. They gotta have a game plan that doesn't rely on hitting the big one.
Yep.
They got to have a game plan that moves them down the field. And Nathan Rourke's skill set's great for that. You can roll him out. He's a threat to run. You pull the linebackers up. You at least make the linebackers honor that threat.
Yes.
And then you can go over them, under them, over to the sides, and that opens your field wide out. Opens the field for you when they have to worry about the run threat. Now, Rourke did have a couple of scrambles here and there. If it's not going to be a main part of the offense, though, a defense can go, okay, fine, you got your one. We'll move on. We'll get this done, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they wouldn't have even been within one score if they hadn't made the one long connection with, I think it was 70 seconds left in the first half.
Yes, and then the rest of that drive was, look at what we can do when we decide to move the ball 5-10 yards a chunk instead of trying to get 50 every play.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was going to be the start of them turning it around. Because for a while, you're like, okay, well, Winnipeg's got the lead. They got off to a hot start. They kind of settled down a little bit in the second quarter where they weren't moving the ball quite as nicely. And you're thinking, okay, well, if BC gets hot, they can get right back into this. And I thought that was the start of it. But that was just, it didn't last.
Yeah, but this is BC last week, too. You're just waiting for them to catch fire. You're just waiting them to do something. I mean, yeah, they're making some of the halftime adjustments, but, it's not too much. They can't be digging themselves this hole in the first half every week. They got a lot of talent there, especially on the offensive
and
side.
And the pass rush was non-existent from them, too. They got Matthew Betts back last year, but that's not the team that worried Bomber fans quite a bit in 2023, that's for sure.
Right. Yep. We're still waiting for the reemergence of the 2023 Lions. They're out in BC.
The first half 2023 Lions, too, for that matter.
Yeah, that's right. When are the Lions going to get out to a big lead this year? Right. Moving on. Speaking of victory lap, Montreal Alouettes 39, Ottawa Redblacks 18. I could go through and congratulate every single member of the Alouettes team. I think including our boy, including our kicker, 6 for 6. Jose Malto, 6 for 6 and 3 of 3 on extra points. The only kicker had a good game this week. Maybe should have been the MOP of the week. 21 points for him. But I just wanted to point out, I think my new favorite player, Jeffrey Canton Arku. Now, if you just look at the numbers, not much going on here. 2 tackles, 1 for a loss. But he was responsible for the awesome goal line stop there in the first quarter to elicit the turnover on downs and keep the Red Blacks out of the end zone early. And he also had the interception in the second quarter, which killed another hope for the Red Blacks. I thought this game was interesting in the fact that you saw it happen where the clutch drive of the game was in the first quarter. I think if the Red Blacks win that goal line stand, score the touchdown, this could be a completely different game. I don't like to make these cross-sport comparisons, but it was happening at essentially the same time. I feel like the Red Blacks are akin to the Indiana Pacers over there in the NBA Finals. These guys just don't give up. Unfortunately, when you dig yourself a hole against these particular Alouettes, tough to come back from that. Drew Brown did not play in this game.
Nope. So, and as soon as that news came out, I switched my pick'em. So
right, yeah. As soon as that news came out, I put down a bet. So it's happy to see that. They carried over the hip injury from the end of the Riders game. Sat him out this one. Bob Dice said that after the game that he'll probably be ready to go in week 3. So 1 off for Drew here, but yeah, you could really see the difference here. Matthew Schultz is just not. He's a come down. He's a come down from Drew Brown. For those Drew Brown skeptics this year, I think that this was proof by his absence that Drew Brown is the leader of this team.
Yeah, and Ottawa is not one of those teams that has the backup quarterback that I'm comfortable saying they'll get you 500 over that stretch for your starters. No, Matthew Schultz has been around for long enough. He is who we think he is. There's nothing going to surprise anybody anymore. Dustin Crum is a one-trick pony at this point. I mean, he had how many years now to try to show something more than being able to run, and he's also not that good on the short yardage either, so even that skill doesn't translate. And we've seen little bits and pieces of Tyree Adams, even got a win in one of his few starts, but if they're not going to put him on the roster, like, what's the point of having him around anymore? The backup quarterback position in Ottawa needs a lot of attention and really fast.
Yeah. I mean, this was a team that had to, what was it, last year? Yeah, last year, I believe, where at certain point they had to go with Dustin Crum, who is not a throwing quarterback. Even in this game, they went to him in the fourth quarter when the game.
He's what Chris Streveler was typecast as, right?
Yeah. Good call. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so I don't know. I'm loving my Owls. I'm loving my Owls going to Edmonton next week. Short week be damned. I'm liking this team more every week so far. I don't know how I'm going to be in week 14. I'll be completely enamored by that, I'm sure. All right, so now I know that it was a long winter without Canadian football, and that I shouldn't complain, but woof. We do this every once in a while here on the Rouge, White, and Blue. I hope that Calgary Stampeders 29, Toronto Argonauts 19 was not a game that you were showing to your American friends for their first experience with the CFL, because damn, I don't mind saying that this game was a slog. Excellent Canadian football.
Swear to God, about a decade ago, I kept trying to get people into it when it was on ESPN2 or NBC Sports Network from time to time.
Right.
the random few games they would show, and every time I'd say, "Hey, watch this game. It's going to be good." It was a garbage dump, and this is exactly what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, this one.
It's like,
Wow.
why did you
Uh,
show me this again?
right. Right. Um, there was a nice confusion factor, I'm sure, for the non-initiated. 9-4 at half. Excellent Canadian football score. Not such an excellent game. 9-4 at half, based on a single defensive touchdown, which was a pick six by Adrian Green. Green had the only turnovers generated by Calgary, 2 interceptions. The Argos had 0. Okay. So you're sitting there watching this game, 9-4 at half, wondering, like, what's happening here, because the defense wasn't stopping anybody. It's just the offense wasn't producing anything. There wasn't much pass rush going on here on either side. Again, like I say, no turnovers. I just don't know what's happening here. I guess it's a virus. Dan Crawford, the long snapper for the Stamps, was injured early on in this game. Reggie Bagleton went out on the Stamps' first drive, looking a little bit like Winnipeg, but it's not like Calgary really was able to substitute effectively for these missing players. Um, here we go. The kicking woes continue, right? Let's see. I have the stats here on this one. Yeah, Rene Paredes just had a nightmare game, no fault of his own, missing 2 field goals, and had to take an extra point where he didn't even get a chance to kick the thing. The snap came in high, and so he discovered that he had to play quarterback and ran around a little bit and got nailed. So nightmare game for him as well, on top of everything else in this game. But really, it's tough to blame the woes on one player, except if it's the quarterback. Nick Arbuckle had a particularly egregious game. At half, they were just commenting on this, that how frustrating it was that he only seemed capable of making the check down. He ends the game averaging something like 7 yards per attempt, per passing attempt. I don't know what has happened to Nick Arbuckle. It came out during this game that during the Grey Cup, he had pneumonia. I don't know if this is the special sauce for him. I don't know if this is what he needs every week, but woof. You can see why the Argos have been odds-on underdogs in both of these games, despite being defending Grey Cup champs and
And
returning
here
with.
I was thinking I was a sick one sitting in the stands watching that thing go on and on and on.
Whew. My God, this was a slug. Um, I mean, yeah, I not much to say on this. I mean, literally, Toronto had one decent pass play in the fourth quarter where Coxie found himself wide open on a crossing route and just had a clear path to the touchdown. At this point, Calgary is already up by, I don't even remember, maybe 20 at this point. So really didn't mean very much. For a little while, it looked as though the Toronto defense was finally coming together. Really did a nice job against the run in this game. Dedrick Mills had 13 carries for just 28 yards. Vernon Adams broke away once or twice, 7 attempts, 54 yards, but nothing too spectacular there. Again, like there's some production here on the defense. Cameron Judge had the only tackles for a loss by Toronto. I mean, there's just not much to find here that was good about this game. I'm wondering how the hell Calgary is 2-0 at this point. I mean, like, wow. I'll tell you, next week they're the favorites, but you got to bet against Calgary at this point. Just an ugly win, if such a thing is possible. A win's a win, as they say, but wow, this was not one that they'll put in the highlight tapes at the end of the season.
Yeah, you take them any way you get them, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, Yeah. I think the losing may begin next week for Calgary, like I say. Um, Finally ended the week with I gotta say another bit of a slog here, at least through the first three quarters. Saskatchewan Roughriders 28, Hamilton Tiger Cats 23. Now I understand that you were spared this game live, Joe.
Yes, I mean, I was watching Hamilton, but I wasn't watching Hamilton in Saskatchewan. I was watching an off-Broadway production of Hamilton the musical.
Right.
Although during intermission, I did check on the Saskatchewan-Hamilton game because, why not have double dose of Hamilton while you can, right?
Yeah, right. Right. The Hamilton double feature. Um I'd be willing to bet you though that Thomas Jefferson had a better game than most of the Ticats did. Uh, some fun stuff. I don't want to say this was a complete slog. For Hamilton, Katsatonis had a nice game as well. He had Daryl Moxie came up with kind of the fluky, looky what I found interception there in the first quarter after Katsatonis deflected it. This was one of the few highlights of the game. For all the bad kicking this week, this might have been some of the worst. Shane Lautner for the Riders misses his first field goal, misses his first extra point. Okay, so leaving 4 points already on the board early on. Ultimately win just 2 of 5 on field goals. Wow. But kicking aside, the real issue here was, again, these offenses just not getting going. The pregame hype was all about, okay, here we go. We have Trevor Harris versus Bo Levy-Mitchell. Well, let me tell you, Trevor Harris had 99 yards on 10 completions in the first half. By the time the fourth quarter ran around, I was just about ready to switch it off. But things started happening in the fourth quarter. We got some scoring. Trevor Harris, after putting up that 99 in the first half, like I said, just had a monster fourth quarter, leading a couple of drives, going 9 of 12 for 141 yards in that fourth quarter. If you had looked only at that fourth quarter, you would have thought that Harris was the MOP of the week. But I mean, again, it was all late game stuff. And I gotta say, after this game, here's Saskatchewan at 2-0. Here's the Riders at 2-0. But does anybody really stand out in the West right now? I mean, maybe the Bombers,
So
right?
far,
But
the
these,
Bombers and the Riders are where we thought they'd be, right?
well, yeah, but I mean, the Riders are doing their classic, high energy first 5-6 games of the season, winning everything. Again, this was not your highlight win for the Riders. Again, nice offensive play in that fourth quarter, but
Yep. It's
this
also
was
a
not a
road game
complete game.
across the continent, so
Sure. Okay.
I'm not looking so much for style points in those. I'm looking for, did you
Okay.
get it?
Yeah. Okay. As a result, we've got what, 3 teams in the East now that are 0-2, and 3 teams in the West that are undefeated. A couple of 2-0s and 1-0. But I don't think that the standings table can tell you the whole story, as opposed
No.
to
And
actually
again, that's
watching
why
these things.
we don't panic about the first couple weeks,
Right.
right?
Right. Now, next week, we're going to talk about next week's games in just a minute, but next week we have 3 crossover games. So I fully expect to see some so-called upsets. I fully expect to see a few of those undefeated teams go down. Talk about your haves and your have-nots. Oof. It looks
Ooh,
stark right now.
if the West teams all win, we can start talking about one division CFL
Oh,
again, right?
oh, God, no. God, no. No, the one division CFL.
Yeah,
Never.
Pats for me too, but that's gonna start happening, right?
All right. So as long as we can start talking about that 10th team,
Yeah.
'cause that's one fantasy that I never get tired of talking about. Okay. So we're going to talk next week's games. However, Joe, I would like you to say a few words for us, please, about CFL fans fight cancer.
Just a quick rundown. The shop is now closed for the time being. It will
Okay.
reopen in the fall. Of course, the event is always the Saturday before Grey Cup this year it's in Winnipeg at Tavern United. But there's going to be plenty of events throughout the summer. Lots to talk about as things come along. So there'll be more to say as we go. But right now, if you're thinking about making a donation, CFLfansfightcancer.com is the place to go.
What is the event, Joe?
The event itself is just to sit down. It's between 1 and 5 local time every year.
Okay.
Uh, Actually, to be fair, you probably need to show up about 11:30, 12 to get a seat these days. It's rather popular, um, but it's just a sit down restaurant. You get to you get to order
Oh, okay.
food. They come around, get you order your food, your booze as you go. The things that are different about just going out to a restaurant is there's a lot of us around, lots of CFL fans around, lots of mingling and gathering. There's also raffle prizes. There's
Okay.
also lots of prizes donated. Some of them are just you drop a ticket in and see if you win,
Hmm.
or there's of course the classic 50-50 or silent auction items too.
Great.
Lots of times there's jerseys or signed helmets. Lots of stuff out there if you want to blow a nice wad of money and take home something. There's
Right.
definitely plenty of opportunities to do that.
Right.
So we definitely
For a good
suggest you
cause.
come blow a wad of money for a good cause. Yes.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Great.
Hey,
Great. CFL
we're
fan.
going for 100K. We gotta get anything we can get right now.
What are they at?
No
Do you
idea
know?
right now.
Okay. All right. We'll try and
It's
get my.
early in the game though.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like these just like these offenses, things
Yeah.
haven't quite gotten going as far as the big numbers go, but we'll keep working on it and start moving things along. Hopefully, we'll have some official numbers to drop over the next couple weeks to months, and hope hopefully we have more things that happen, like our friend Chris in Ottawa that did the bucket challenge last year, running
Mhm.
around nine games in 9 cities, and carried a bucket the whole time and got quite a bit of cash for us. So things like that'll happen. There'll be other events popping up in cities near you, hopefully. Or if you're here in the States with me, you can always donate at the website as well.
All right. CFLfansfightcancer.com. Definitely not a slog. Right. So let's talk next week's games. This week we have lines for you.
Yay!
Let's see. So, yay. So we're starting with Montreal Alouettes at Edmonton Elks. The Elks are coming off the bye. I guess Montreal has the short away week this week, Joe. But I'll tell you what, I am not afraid. The line on this game is Montreal is a 5.5 point favorite. Again, I believe that has been the line in all 3 games this year. Um, there's no way I can say a bad word about Montreal. I am expecting some of these undefeated teams to go down, but I don't know. It's hard for me to have any faith in Edmonton after one game. I'm not sure that they're there yet. There was great optimism this season. I'm not sure it's warranted. It's early, so they might turn it around, but I think not yet, despite the extra week. Montreal is just looking so good right now. I forgot to mention before too that James Letchler, much was made of this in the TSN broadcast as well. James Letcher came into this game with 4 catches in his career in the CFL. Of course, he's the special teams specialist, but walked away with 9. Right? So five catches for him in this game. Don't know if we're going to use him as a weapon in the offense, but I like the option. I like the receiving core for this Montreal team right now. I think we're firing on all cylinders. I think Davis Alexander is as advertised. I like Montreal minus the 5.5.
Edmonton's firmly in the prove it camp for me. They've got to do something before I'm going to even think about picking them at any point. That said, this kind of feels like one of those games where everybody's going to pick Montreal and Edmonton's going to do something
Yeah.
weird.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm taking
I don't want to hear that.
Montreal. Like I'm not going to go against what the evidence shows right now.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
there's there's part of me that's very thankful I don't put money on any of this because this feels like a game that Edmonton wins by 3 and like
Right.
some sort of crazy bounce in the third quarter that changes the entire
Oh,
momentum of the game, right?
you're killing me, Joe. You're killing me.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
I'm firmly in Montreal camp. It's just this one feels too easy. How about that?
yeah, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. This week, I think is pick the upset. This week is pick the upset. I don't think you can go chalk again this week, especially since 3 of the 4 away teams are favored this week. So I don't think you can go chalk this week. I'm looking at this one right here, Riders at Argos. I'm looking at this for the upset here. I just wish I could have some faith in this Toronto offense, and I just don't. The Riders are 2.5 point favorites. However, Toronto is getting even odds on the plus 2.5. So I think that the bookmakers secretly think the Toronto upset, quote unquote, is brewing here. Um, what are you looking at, Joe? What are you going in this game? Because I'll probably just play contrarian. Are you
Okay.
taking the Riders?
I'm taking the Riders. It sounds like Chad
Yeah.
Kelly's out another week, and
Yeah.
Toronto doesn't have a quarterback besides
Yep.
him. So they're, and it didn't feel like they were this team, the
Mm-hmm.
team that just didn't have that quarterback that could bridge you 4 games,
Mm-hmm.
but they are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be Saskatchewan.
The Argos defense, as I've been commenting on, is still coming together. Riders' offense is prone to mistakes. They do turn this ball over. However, particularly in the last game, the line looks pretty outstanding. The offensive line looks pretty outstanding. Despite it all, though, and despite the fact that, of course, the Riders have got to start the season 5-0, 5-1, 6-0, whatever, I think I think I'll go with Toronto in this game just to be contrarian, just because I don't really think that either of these two teams is playing a complete football game right now. Saskatchewan's just playing
No,
with
but
more energy.
Toronto's missing a huge
Yes.
portion of what they need to have, right?
Yeah. Sure. Fair
It's
enough.
like trying to fly an airplane with the door off, right?
Thank God I've returned from flying. I didn't want to hear that either. So I've got the doors flying off, and I've got Montreal losing on a bounce. Right?
I didn't go quite that far with
Yeah.
Montreal, but
Yeah.
it's
We're not.
it's one of those. It's one of those. If you want me to keep going back to this, one of those Raheem Cato type games, right? Where it's
Ah,
like, where did this come from?
Jesus.
Except that Edmonton's got a quarterback that everybody's been anticipating watching for multiple years now. So
Mhm. Mhm.
maybe we have the Trey Ford signature. Hey, this is Trey Ford. This is my team now game, but
Right. Well, maybe we're waiting on that.
or maybe that never
Uh,
happens. But we could have found that out 2 years ago instead of waiting till now, right?
mm. Okay. Now we have Ottawa Red Blacks 1.5 point underdogs at the Stamps. Despite the losses, especially against Montreal, I do kind of like what's happening in Ottawa. Um, I would not be surprised if by the end of this season, this team is hot, uh, that they're on a roll, because I do think something is happening here. I do think Drew Brown coming back will be good for the Red Blacks. I do think that we don't know for sure on Reggie Bagleton, but these past 2-3 years, I would never bet on the Stamps without Bagleton. This guy has been absolutely the only highlight on offense. If there is a highlight from the Stamps offense this past couple of seasons in which they've run up a total of 11 wins, it has been Reggie. If Reggie's not playing, there's no way I can back the Stamps. I think in general, I'm just going to go with the Red Blacks anyway. I can't see the league maintaining this. Half the teams are undefeated, half the teams are winless. So I'm just going to take. There's got to be an upset, quote unquote, here. 1.5 points. I'll take Ottawa plus the points here.
I almost think the upset feel would be Calgary winning yet, right? because there was expectations for Ottawa and there was hardly any for Calgary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not quite sold on what Ottawa's selling me quite yet. Like I
Okay.
was a lot higher on them 2 weeks ago. So it's the one change I've kind of made
Hmm.
in my preseason feels of things. Like
Hmm.
Montreal, I feel like is proving me wrong, but I'm not gonna quite go there quite yet. I want to see just a little bit more, but
Right.
it's coming close to me making that calling that. But for Ottawa, I'm like, it was also brought up to me over the weekend too that Ottawa finished slowly last year.
Hmm.
And we also have the quarterback issue where if Drew Brown goes out, they're done. So they're one that's the team I feel like I overrated going into the season.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I kind of feel like we're there already. Like Drew Brown could still get him 9 wins just by being playing the way he can.
Right.
But my question is how many games is he on the field? Because he had injury issues last year too.
Hmm.
And knowing that the depth behind him is going to be the way it's going to be, it makes me kind of wonder. Probably jump the gun on calling him for 11 wins. I'm thinking so.
Hmm.
And
I guess.
Calgary is playing better than expectations, and Ottawa's playing worse than expectations. And Ottawa's on the road out to Calgary. All of that's kind of making me go, okay, fine, I'll go Calgary because the next game Calgary has is home against Winnipeg in 2 weeks. So I'd feel really dumb too if I picked against Calgary for all three of their wins and they'd be 3-0 hosting Winnipeg, and I'm like, okay, well now what do I do?
Right. 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 I
So
guess it's fair enough. I don't know. I've just been really impressed by the Owls. I guess it's fair enough to be skeptical on them, like you pointed out last week. Montreal
I
does
want
have.
just a tiny bit more Davis Alexander having to make the tough throw to win the games.
Mhm, mhm.
I want just a little bit more of that, and then I'm sold, right?
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
And
we've.
I'm darn close. Like I'm a lot closer than I was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was a skeptic on Davis. Again, last year he had only had the 4 games, all against Hamilton and Saskatchewan. He's still undefeated though. Still undefeated as a starting CFL quarterback. 6
Yep.
and 0 now is
And the
Davis
first week he
Alexander.
did just what he had to do. Last week was a little bit more of him showing what he could do. I just want to see, if he goes out and throws for 400 against Edmonton and just blows them out of the water, I'm like, okay, fine, I'm in. Right?
Right, 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 right. Good, 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 because that's what will happen. We started talking about Ottawa, Calgary. We ended up on the Alouettes. Yay! I like the way that one went. Let's see. I have the notes here. Hang on, just a minute. I wanted to draw this one up because we end the week with the back-to-back. Winnipeg 2.5 point underdogs at BC, which is probably not something that we would have picked at the beginning of the season, but already that BC stock is going down a bit. It is Monday the 16th, the evening of Monday the 16th, as we record this. All I have on Oliveira is TSN is reporting that he, quote, could miss multiple games with the shoulder injury, but further evaluation is still required. Now, again, that was as of Monday the 16th. I would guess that if only given the success that Matthew Peterson had, they'll just sit him anyway. They'll
Yeah,
just sit
Peterson was
Brady anyway.
practicing today as if he
Right.
was starting. So, I mean, really, why don't you? Like, just
Uh-huh.
give Brady a couple weeks to rest. And I mean, it puts to bed the idea he's going to hit that number we were talking about in preseason futures, but whatever.
Right,
I'll
right.
take a healthy Brady in November over numbers. That please and thank you. So
Sure. I
get
mean,
him healthy. You got a guy that shows he knows what he can do with the ball. And there was a really nice throw that Strevler made, deep, kind of deep in his own end that really helped spark the team.
mhm,
Micah Awe came free up the middle, and it was Peterson was the only person between Awe and Strevler, and Awe didn't get there.
mhm.
Peterson made the block and made it and gave Strevler enough time. So okay, he can handle the pass game, he can handle the run game. okay, Brady, take a couple weeks, take a rest. You're good.
Right.
It's early. We'll be
Right.
fine.
Right. Just what I always say. I hate betting these futures. I hate betting these props because there's a million ways for Winnipeg to win this game, several of which do not involve Brady Oliveira at all. So I really don't like futures and props betting in general. Anyway, so we have the Bombers at BC. BC has not been knocking me out. BC has a couple of wins. So
BC's got one
I
win
I'm sorry. BC's got one win that they probably should not have had.
against Edmonton
Uh-huh.
at home.
So I
Does that even really count?
listen to this.
Yes, it does.
Yes. If they don't have to travel, it doesn't count.
No, Edmonton at home, like week
Uh-huh.
1. That just they
Uh-huh.
seem to been getting that draw a lot lately, and it always seems to work out well for them. So
Here we have Winnipeg at BC. I don't know. Like I say, I'm not blown away by BC. We'll see if they keep up what Joe was calling the big play offense. But I know you're gonna go with Winnipeg. Yeah, I'll take Winnipeg. I'll take Winnipeg. Minus the 2.5.
no, they
BC
came
is
out
just,
looking
they
like
gotta
a
show.
complete team, and I haven't seen BC play a complete team game in
Season and
2
a half.
years. Yeah,
So, yeah, until that's one of those wait and sees. I believe even after just one game that Winnipeg is ready to play. Winnipeg is a full team, even with the injuries. And BC and Calgary, Nathan Rourke and Vernon Adams are just really having a hell of a time getting on that page. I mean, this is another reason for me to be so stoked about Davis Alexander, and it's another reason to be really impressed with Drew Brown, is that these guys are ready to play. And here, the much hyped Nathan Rourke, the much hyped Vernon Adams in a new situation, just I don't know. Maybe it was in the case of Vernon, maybe it was just that Bagleton got taken out early, and clearly the game plan was focused on him getting 12 targets, as is the usual in Calgary. But still, I have not liked the way that Rourke and Adams have not been able to get going. They're not showing more than flashes so far. And I expect much better out of both of these quarterbacks, as do most CFL observers, I'm sure.
right. Which is why I want another couple weeks
Mhm.
to assess how badly I screwed up my preseason predictions. Because I mean, really, their preseason predictions are never going to be on target, right? But I want to
Of
see
course
how off target we're talking here.
Of course. Like I said, there's a million ways for this stuff to shake out. You could
Yeah,
you could get all 9 teams correct, and you could be completely wrong in how they get there.
right.
So there's a million ways for this to unfold. We're only in week 3, so it's just beginning. Okay, Joe. Fantasy ball. How did the Rouge, White, and Blue perform this week? And what are you looking at this week? Yeah, Bupkus.
Last in
Fantastic.
the league overall in points, so I'm guessing we lost.
Ouch. Stay away from those
I have
Hamilton
like
music.
2 or 3 of those games a season, usually, where it's either like it's just going to be great or it's going to be terrible, and no,
Right.
that's just
And
not
it was
going to
terrible.
go well. I
No.
haven't even looked yet because I haven't flipped it over. So
Okay. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
usually do that Tuesdays. So
Yeah. We do this a little bit early. Yeah. I don't know. Is Caleros a good start
well, let me look at
at
the
quarterback?
season schedule.
Probably a great start would be Peterson. I'm sure Peterson's
I'm
gonna.
sure he's gonna be cheap enough that
Yeah.
everybody's riding him, right?
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing about this season in fantasy.
Mhm.
Like, I haven't seen a great quarterback get a great matchup yet. I've actually rode Harris the last 2 weeks. Um, once I get off my butt and figure that Count Alexander is one of those,
Mhm.
that matchup gets Edmonton looks great.
Mhm.
Toronto doesn't have a quarterback yet. I'm not picking Trey Ford until I'm proven that they prove that they're going to be a factor this year at all. I don't want to touch VA with a 10-foot pole yet because I don't think Calgary's got the horses.
Mhm.
Drew Brown scares
Drew
me
Brown.
anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Drew Brown, if I feel like he's going to be healthy, I'm going to go for it. But
Mhm.
and then like Nathan against Winnipeg's defense, I saw that movie before.
Mhm.
So like almost by process of elimination, Zach looks good.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, again, Calgary defense was no great shakes last week. They had the 2 picks, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was
And like
it.
I'm gonna balance Harris and Claris in my head for the next 24 hours before I
Mhm.
make this choice, and it might come down to what the salary numbers end up being too.
Mhm. Harris is has always been a great fantasy call at quarterback. He does tend to rack up those stats, but I'll tell you, last week anybody who had him at quarterback was really sweating it out after that first half. And then, putting together the fourth quarter, that's enough stats for a full game basically. So, that's always a good pick as far as I'm concerned. That's a
Yeah,
good default.
I mean, really, if you look at it, who's good right now?
Right.
Montreal, Saskatchewan,
Right.
Winnipeg.
Right.
Is Calgary good? Is BC good?
Uh-huh. Right. Right, exactly. Again, nobody in the West is really blowing me away right now in the early going. Um, yeah, Caleras might be a good pick. Montreal is doing, I mean, Davis has been a very, very, very solid quarterback. He's been excellent, but Montreal is not a pass happy offense. Montreal is happy to grind it out. Yes, they have Philpott as a deep option, and Shane Mack has been having a nice year too in these first couple of games. But I mean, this is not a high flying offense. This is not Drew Brown. Davis Alexander is not going to put together 41 attempts. This is not Bo Levy Mitchell. We have options. In Montreal, we have options in the backfield. We have an offensive line. So, it's not there. I don't think that Alexander is going to have the gaudy statistics this year. I don't. I just want the solid games, right? As an Owls fan. So, all right, let's get out of here for the week. Any last thoughts, Joe? Go Winnipeg, as
Well,
always.
of course.
Okay, great. Stay away from the Hamilton this week. The musical, I mean. Uh, right. So for the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast, I'm Oz Davis. For my co-host Joe Pritchard, we are out of here. Enjoy the games, and we will talk to you next week.